Now, lab number 1, we're going to discuss in a bit. We're going to have to kill the lights in here to set this thing up. When we do, you will be re-advised as to how to test and set one of these up. So we'll do that, well, right now. Alright, let's have a look at our continuous dimming daylighting test set. Care and feeding includes brushing it out, keeping the dirt out of it, whatever. You can use a brush. Possibly removing and reinserting the incandescent light source. I just pulled this GE A19 LED out of there and put one of these Phillips in because LED light sources are just a problem on phase dimmers, and to quote somebody who's very knowledgeable on the subject, if you're using phase dimming with fluorescent or LEDs of any sort, all bets are off. So the first thing we're going to do is find the section of the book that tells us to recalibrate the test stand, and it's going to be under 3, and it's up front in your instructor's manual, and you will need that for this video because you are going to have to test and recalibrate the test sets. What's inside the test set is, of course, our phase dimmed push on off daylighting source and a CFL. And this is important. The first thing you want to do on day 3 is set these puppies up, which you should have tested and made sure they're working right. Put the cover on the thing, turn on the area control, and let the CFL warm up, because it's exactly what it is. It's a CFL. Alright? And it's going to have a fairly long warm up and burn in time. You want these on and running, and in fact when the students come up, you're going to pull these off before the students come up so the thing will go down to its reference voltage. Okay, and a reference illuminance, pardon me. What's inside these, the back of these, is a 1.5 or 1.6 amp medium or slow blow cartridge fuse. These are standard American type fuses. They are 1/4 inch by 1 1/4, not 2 by 20 millimeter or whatever. These are available from Radio Shack. The only time I can think that this, so we're fused down to 1.5 amps here, medium or slow. The only thing I can think of that would blow this fuse is the incandescent lamp going out, and you may have seen this when you walked into a room and flipped the switch and the light flashed. That light's actually just arcing over the filament before it burns out, and that kind of a surge could blow a little cartridge fuse like this. So fast blows blow them like that. You got a CFL ballast, 24 volt supply. Here's where the sensor goes. We've got 24 volt supply, and we've got the 0 to 10 to go to the ballast, and of course a grounding bonding jumper to keep everything safe. If your test set gets all beat up and damaged, you can recoat the paint with Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer Flat Black. This is what these are painted with, and I don't have to tell you not to paint the stuff in here, of course. There should be an X marks the spot for somebody to put a light meter. You want your light meter to range from up to at least 100 foot candles. Now we're looking at the reference and it's fluctuating. This is normal. This is normal in some cases. In this case, you're likely to see this. The reference illumination is going to be fluctuating because you're in a closed loop system, and we cannot control the damping or integration factor on the sensor. It is what it is. However, a fluctuation of plus and minus half or 0.6 foot candle up and down while taking the reference illuminance with the sensor uncovered might be expected. And this would not fail a system in real life. Okay? Wouldn't fail it in real life because the lights are not unstable enough that anybody's going to notice it. Plus or minus half a foot candle, nobody's going to see that. So we're not going to mess with step 2, measuring the test stand values, because that very, very closely approximates the lab. And we don't want to show people how to do the lab. I'll send you a separate video on that. A stand should come equipped with a 3-inch ABS sewer plug. That's what, and you get this at the hardware store. Sorry, 2-inch. It says 2-inch ABS. This is for sewer piping. It's 2-inch size, and it fits right over the sensor just perfectly. Let's go ahead and take a look. We got our light meter set for about a range of up to 200 foot candles, and we're going to go ahead and proceed with recalibrating the test stand for use, because we did just change the light source from an LED to an incandescent. Okay, now the first part of the procedure under section 3 tells you to cover the sensor, so we've done that. And I'm seeing 53.7, I'm going to call it 54 for full output illuminance. That's your step A. You want to record that, and now we are going to multiply that by 0.78. So 0.78 times 54 gives me a target of 42.12 or 42 foot candles. That's my target for my reference. The reference has to lie between 70% and 85% of this full output that we just took by covering the sensor. So we're going to let the light stabilize as stable as they're going to get. You're likely to see some fluctuation, possibly a foot candle or so each direction is what I'm discovering, and you're likely to occasionally see that in real life as well. Now remember, we are running this thing kind of out of specs, but that's alright. So right now I'm at 53, and there it goes. It's wanting to drop now, dropping slowly, and we're going to take our reference illuminance and set it up with the calibrator. Okay, I'm going to set my reference illuminance. Now this thing is swinging pretty wildly. Oh, I'd like to mention I have all the lights on in here, and because the light meter goes back into this thing, we're only reading 0.2, 0.3 with the area control switched off. So you can do this in quite a bright space. But if there's a problem with light getting into the thing, remember you're supposed to pack it in a trash bag to move it. I suggest trying draping the trash bag on it, because we don't have curtain kits for these yet. Here's the calibrator, brand new out of its little box, and I just pulled its battery tab, so presumably we got enough juice to do this. I'm going to point at the sensor. Now make sure that your daylight is off, and I am going to hit the night button. And indeed, the sensor gave me a little wink, telling me I'm now in setting up night. So I'm looking at my light meter, and I'm going to hold the down arrow, and it will blink back at me, and I'm going to set it for 42. And that's quite a radical little adjustment, so the up arrow can be used to take it up and down. You use the arrows. That says 41.7, 43, 41.8, we'll call that 42. That's pretty good. Now we're going to take the reference and we're going to multiply that by 0.75. That's in block C. So, come on, stop that. Hello. 0.75 times my reference of, we'll call it 42, equals 31.5. Alright, so what we did was we just computed 75% of the reference, and that's what we're going to use for our partial daylight level with this particular sensor. So I'm going to write that in block C, 31.5. Alright, next step, add 2 foot candles to the no daylight reference illuminance. You can add more. I'm going to add maybe 4 to it. So my no daylight reference illuminance was 42. I'm going to set this thing for about 46, I think, just to show you that we got that leeway. Now, I'm going to begin the rest of the calibration. I'm going to hold down the night button and point it at the sensor. And it should start continuously flashing at you. I think this thing's weak. Yeah, well, so much for that. The battery's already dead in this sucker. Yep. Alright, well, changing the battery on this thing, you have a tang on the side, you flip it over, you got a tang on the side, and then you've got a slot for a fingernail. You push that tang over and get your fingernail in there, and that unlocks a little catch inside the thing, and it slides right out. And it takes a CR2025, which is kind of a weird size, unfortunately, and then it snaps back into position with a healthy click. I don't have it. I've got 2032s, and these are too big. So we'll get another calibrator. Well, we're getting to see all the bad stuff today. If you can get a hold of one of these old-fashioned calibrators for this, it takes AAAs, and that's what you really want. So let me get this. Let's go ahead and tell the thing we're done with the night setup, or actually let's move it up and down and see if we're still on night setup. Okay, yeah, it's moving erratically. We were shooting for 42 for the reference, so let's put it back at approximately 42. There we are. Now I'm going to hold down the night button, and the thing will continuously wink at me, and then it's going to suddenly go all red, let go of the button, wait, off, all red, solid again, and bingo, this is your no daylight set point. And you may notice it shifting, and you may notice it fluctuating around some. Don't sweat it. We're going to do the day next. So we go to section C, turn off the area control. Yes. Once you've held down the nighttime button and stored your night setting, you can go ahead and shut the area control off and just go ahead and dial in your partial daylight level, which would be off of block C, partial daylight illuminance required, and it's between 60 and 95% of your reference. In our case, 75%. Now the manufacturer of the device that's in the box here, we got 31.5. I got 31.3. That's good enough. Let's turn on the area control again. I hit 58, and it's going to go down. And now we're going to set our partial, so we don't have to sit and wait for it to go down. We're going to tell it we're doing our daylight setting, and we're going to hit the daylight bulb or button just enough to see the thing wink. There it goes. Now we're in our partial daylight setting, and we decided to set it for about 46. So I'm going to bring this combined illumination down. Ooh, that's 46 right there. That's what it says. So I want to store that as my partial daylight setting by holding down the day button, point it at the sensor. It's going to wink rapidly, and then it's going to go solid. Take your finger off the button, get away, solid. Okay, so we've stored the partial daylight setting. Okay, you have a button marked auto, all it has to do is wink at you. Bingo. There we go. We're now back in auto operation. Now what you're going to see immediately is that your daylight level shifts about some. Okay, you're not going to get the settings that you set in exactly. You could be a couple of foot candles off one way or another, but basically that was the entire setup for this critter. Now you're going to want to go back and double check it, which is very like doing the lab, and so I'm going to do that video and give it to you for your own edification and for use in class. We're going to shoot a new daylighting video for use in class. And when you use this in class, you're basically going to do what they do in their lab, and then you're going to go to the appropriate section of the form and you're going to fill it out line by line. Okay? That one you should have got in class, and you have all the stuff the students have in your book plus some. But this is a done deal on this. Now, you wait about 10 minutes and then you come back and you double check your settings. And this is because in case you didn't store a set point properly, this thing's going to go back to its last set points within 10 minutes, right? So, what did I set my partial for? I set it for 46. I've got fluctuating, got about 48, 47.5, 47.8. If I turn the daylight off, I've got 16 foot candles, okay? And this is for the partial, and that's where it's filled in. So if I just let it sit here, it's going to take me back to reference, and I can check my reference, my full output. The only thing you wouldn't expect to shift around a whole bunch on this is that full output you took with the sensor covered. Okay, so basically that's it. A reminder, don't forget your highlighters and post-it notes, and we'll have a video about tabbing and highlighting to make sure you hit a bunch of high points in tabbing and highlighting, because there's things you want to tell the students when you're doing that. Okay, that's it for now.